with Cinema Guys or anything?
No, I don't have a StreamYard account anymore.
Oh, okay.
I
Well, you can
can't.
use
I
mine if you want.
canceled ours because I haven't used it. So I'm like, why am I paying this? Because I'm not using it.
So what do y'all use to record? Just like
Well, they
local
come out.
audio?
We get together and record.
Okay. Yeah, that's what me and
So
Andy
we
used
either
to do too.
record here in my basement or we record at Ashley's house. Which what's funny is if you listen to our last two episodes, the new episode was recorded here with these mics. I have 3 of these, so we're all on the same mic. And then at her house, it's like the old mics, so it's like a hodgepodge. But if you listen to the episodes, like the audio sounds more like muddied when I record at her house than it does here.
Oh, wow.
But I also put it through a mixer here too, so I got all the fancy stuff at my house. But I'm like 20-ish minutes away from them, so they don't always want to drive to my house.
Alrighty. Okay. Are you good? You got your list? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. Give me. I'll come back in. With
Oh,
the
do you want me to record here?
No.
Okay.
Crossing my fingers, bro. I'm just doing
all right.
local recordings in
I'm
StreamYard.
going to turn my recorder off then.
Yeah, I mean the last few episodes, it's worked beautifully. So I don't even record my audio even.
All right then. Well, let me shut this
and
off.
worst case scenario, if the recordings don't work, we can just pull the audio from the video. So fuck it.
We just
the
record
8
it all
people that
again and
subscribe
go,
to me will
oh,
be fine.
ha, yours, that was so good, Gerald.
Oh, man. All right, I'll come back in here in a minute, do the intro, and we'll knock it out.
Right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Two Peas on a Podcast. I'm so thrilled that you joined us again this week. Gerald here with you, of course, and I got to bring in another P on the pod, my guest host this week. And it's a guy that I'm personally friends with. I don't really know why. I'm questioning that each and every day, but I love this guy on a personal level, but he's also been on the show many times before. And just love having him back to discuss a fun top 5 topic. So say what's up to Brad from the Cinema Guys, Tubi Tuesday, Apple Teeny once a year.
Yeah, I question our friendship, every day too, Gerald. I wake up mutual. And go, why am I friends with Gerald? I don't know why. Why?
This guy texted me again. Should I respond to him this time?
Thanks for having me back on. I'm excited. I am always thrilled to get on the mic with you. So
yeah, of course I'm kidding. I love you. You're one of my favorite people, and we've garnered a great friendship over the last couple of years, and it's always great to get you on the show as well. So we often dive into movies.
Of course, a shout out to Hey Tubi friends. That was for Dan.
Yeah, he's gonna want to hear that for sure. That's becoming your signature. I like that. I'm gonna let everybody. I'm gonna let you tell everybody about the stuff you're doing with Tubi and all that stuff at the end. You plug your show. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And if you like movies that no one else likes, then you'll be you're in the right place.
Questionable viewing sometimes.
Sure. Well, we often dive into movies here on Two Ps. I think last time you and I got together, though, Brad, we did music because we did our debut albums.
We did.
So that was a lot of fun. And this time around, we're back in the world of movies, though. Why don't you tell everybody what we're counting down tonight, buddy?
Well, we are counting down our top what the fuck moments in film.
Yeah. Our top 5.
Those moments you're watching the movie, it happens, and you're like, what the fuck? So
yeah, I was talking to you before we started recording, and I was watching some of these scenes back that I hadn't seen in a while, and I was like, I kind of remember like actually saying what the fuck.
Yeah.
in a lot of these cases, or at least thinking it.
There are a few of mine that I think I verbally said that, like watching it in the theater. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, for sure. And then some of them resonate with you too, where afterwards you're like, what the fuck was that? What did I see there? So I watched a few of them back on YouTube, and yeah, they're definitely still WTF moments for me. So I put them on my list. Now, I want to ask a little bit about your criteria before we get into the 5. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple that you could argue fall in this category, but I tried to stay away from quote unquote plot twists.
Okay.
I more was just like a random scene kind of, or something that happened in the movie that made me say, what the fuck? But the only reason, though, it's okay if you brought plot twists to the table, because the only reason is because that's a future episode that I have scheduled. So I want to try to have a different list for that than I had for this. And what also is funny is about a year ago, our buddy Julio, our mutual friend Julio from the Contrarians, him and I did cringeworthy moments, which a lot of those I'm also going, what the fuck is this? So I didn't put any of those on my list either because I've already done that list. So this is a little more challenging for me. But with that being said, when you were coming up with your list, how easy was this for you?
At first, it was a little difficult, like trying to think of like, okay, what are some of those moments? And I tried not to do so much, the plot twist. Some of them do that I have on my list, but they're twists in the plot with something that happens on screen that really makes you go, what the fuck? So I tried to go with that shock value a little bit more than a complete twist, but there are some twists on there.
Yeah. There's a couple that I put in my honorable mentions that are like clearly plot twists. So I put those in my honorables.
Same.
And also, I've mentioned some of these so many times. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to put them in my 5. So there's a couple that I'll have in my honorable mentions that are some of my favorite movies and scenes and that kind of thing of all time. But all right, Brad. So we're going to do our top 5 what the fuck movie moments. That's basically it. It just made us say what the fuck and just kind of go, wow. I guess we could have said wow moments, but we're not safe for work, so who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like
nobody cares
recording the Cinema Guys and you got to bleep this out every time.
I know. I thought you were going to say it's not like anyone's listening, which could also be true. All right, man. So here we go. Kick us off, buddy. What's your number 5 WTF moment?
Well, my number 5 is definitely one in the theater that I verbally said, what the fuck? And that is from Annihilation. It is the bear person that comes in and that scream.
Oh,
I was just like, what the fuck is this? And it's
that's
one
funny.
that yell and everything just like sticks with you after you watch it.
That's funny you mention that because I have Annihilation in my list, but it's a different scene.
Oh, okay.
It's actually in my honorable mentions, so I'll just go ahead and mention it now. But it's the doppelganger scene at the end.
Okay, yep.
Natalie
like
Portman
kind of dance together.
Yeah, and I don't want to give away
too many
spoilers, but I mean, there's weird alien shit going on, and
you probably should state right at the top that there are some of these that are going to be the big spoilers of the film. At least mine definitely are. If you haven't seen the film, they will definitely spoil.
All mine are pretty old, but yeah, let's just go ahead. Yeah, thank you. Let's just go ahead and do that. So.
So if you haven't seen Annihilation, there's a creepy bear person hybrid thing that has this scream that just like, oh man, that's the scream itself just gives you chills.
Yeah, no, it was probably the like scariest moment in that movie because there's so much tension in that scene and like you don't really know what you're watching. To your point, you're kind of going, "What the fuck?" the whole time.
Well, when it kind of the head slowly comes up by him, and then you get that scream, and you're just like, "Oh."
And it's like a distorted scream. It's like multiple people kind of screaming, but distorted and so inventive. Alex Garland's awesome. So
yeah, and like I said, it is. I think I've seen the movie at least one more time since, and still. You're just like you verbally like what the fuck?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, good way to get us started, man. I agree with that one. Like I said, mine would be the quote unquote doppelganger scene from Annihilation because I was just I don't know, I just didn't expect it to end up being the way it was, and I love Natalie Portman. It was cool. So that's some honorable mentions though. So for my number 5, so to Brad's point, spoilers. This is the most recent film on my list, even though it's 5 years old now, but it's the most recent. So it's possible that you may not have seen it. So as Brad said, we're just going to be talking about moments that made us say WTF. And in a lot of cases for me, obviously I didn't know it was going to happen. It took me by surprise, these scenes, because I didn't expect them to happen, which is where the what the fuck comes in. Right. So for me, it's from So for me, it's from Hereditary, 2018, when
Okay.
Charlie, the young girl, sticks her head out the window to get some fresh air because
Head
she's having like a allergic
head meets
reaction.
pole.
And there's a telephone pole in the wrong place at the wrong time. And her brother driving the car, played by Alex Wolff. Also what I love about this scene too is that the way it's shot, like it is a really WTF moment. But Ari Aster, who's one of my favorite filmmakers, the way this scene is shot is it like plays out in real time. Like there's no like gimmicks to like hook you in, or you just have to sit there and just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah,
And
because after it happens, I mean, he drives home.
Mhm.
He's in the car and just sits there, and then he just goes inside, gets in bed, and lays
Just
down.
in shock.
Nothing, like
Yep.
complete shock, and he's just laying there in bed. I think the bigger shock of that is the next morning
Mhm.
when mom finds out, and then it cuts to the scene back at the incident with
Exactly.
all everything crawling all over. I'm like,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just shot in a way where you can't escape like the feelings that these characters are going through. You know what I mean? And like
oh yeah,
trying to kind of process it yourself. And Alex Wolff's in a state of shock. He doesn't call 911. He doesn't wake his parents up.
nope.
He just, like you said, he just literally goes in the house and just like almost comatose and just like lays there and just can't believe it.
And I feel it gives you that feeling like I feel like that's something that a lot of people would do, like something that horrific that happens. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. Like they're dead. There's
Mhm.
nothing you can do. And you're just like in a state of shock of like, what do I do? I need to go try to process this. I'm going to go lay
Yeah.
down and just like, hopefully it's not real. I'm going to go to bed and maybe wake up the next day and this is all a
Yeah. I
dream.
mean, he was definitely, and he pulled it off too. I mean, great performances this movie. Obviously, Toni Collette, just absolutely slays
amazing.
this role. But Alex Wolff too, and I mean, he plays that kind of quiet, tortured, like guilt-ridden, person. And in this scene in particular, and then for the rest of the movie, he kind of carries that burden of what happened. And then the movie fucking goes nuts at the very end. Which I mean, the whole last act of this film is what the fuck, honestly. But
even I mean, there are multiple scenes that you could put from this.
Yeah,
like the scene with Toni Collette towards the end, you
Mhm.
could put in the same thing. You're just
Absolutely.
like, what is going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. So Hereditary, Charlie meets Pole. I don't know, behead. I don't know what you call it, but yeah. Anyway, that's my number. That's my number 5. Yeah, that's my number 5. Well, we're over to you, man. What do you got at number 4,
Number
Bradley?
4. Now, this is a film. I love this film. I think it's a great film. And have you seen Sorry to Bother You? It is.
I think so. Is that the one with
oh crap. Now I can't think of his name.
He's like a telemarketer or something.
Yes,
like
the telemarketer.
Yeah,
and
I
they
know
put on like
about.
the white people voice because that's what.
Yeah, I know what you're
like,
talking about.
Like no, but this whole movie leads up to this ending that's just like I don't even know exactly how to explain it. There's like these horse people and like
Oh yeah,
completely
okay, I remember
nude, and then you get like the horse schlong just hanging there, and you're just
I
like,
remember.
what is going on? So
yeah, I remember now.
As I put it, the horse schlong reveal from Sorry to Bother You. That's what I wrote down.
Usually horse schlong reveals don't make me go, what the fuck? But in this movie, yeah. No, that's a good one. I don't really remember it though. I mean, I remember that. I remember the horses like dancing around and shit, and like
it was just it came to
like
that
a weird
end.
like
I mean, that whole end of that movie is a complete WTF moment. You're just like, wait a second, what is going on right now?
It was like a weird dream sequence almost.
Yes, yes, that's exactly it.
All right, well that's a good one. I'm going to revisit that one on YouTube when we're done. I'm making notes here. I kind of vaguely remember it, but I don't remember specifics. I got to see Horse Dong, so I'll check it out. I'm kidding, guys. Nobody report me, please. All right, so my number 4. Now this, it's kind of cliche. We've actually already said it a couple times on this recording, but this whole movie is literally like, what the fuck is this? Like, I respect it from a certain extent, but it's also a movie that I don't ever really want to rewatch because it's so unsettling. It's so disturbing. It's just so weird. And it just makes you feel like you're part of the problem. It makes you feel like you're doing something wrong when you watch some of this stuff. I'm going to pick one scene from it, the number one scene that made me audibly say, what the fuck, when I was watching it. But I'm talking about a movie from 2009, directed by Lars von Trier, called Antichrist. Have you ever seen this?
I don't.
You would know if you've seen it.
I don't think so. It's one of those, like, I feel like I have, but I don't think I have watched it.
Bro.
Is it
sure.
Is it Willem Dafoe in this?
Yeah, Willem Dafoe is the father. Charlotte Gainsbourg is the mom.
Okay, no, I have not seen this.
I've
heard it talked about many, many, many times.
Oh my God, dude. Well, let me just tell you the moment that I'm talking about. Like I said, there's actually multiple. Okay, so if you're faint of heart, skip ahead a couple minutes here.
I mean, we're already talking about horse schlong. So what else you got for him there?
I don't know that it's going to get worse in terms of like subject matter, at least on my list. But there's a scene in this movie where, because Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg's characters are husband and wife, he's a psychologist that's trying to help her. So he's, trying to help his wife get through her mental issues. It turns out he can't do that because she's a witch who's kind of being controlled by the devil. So he realizes there's a lot of supernatural shit that obviously he can't control as a doctor. But anyway, there's a scene where he learns that, and she's trying to kind of keep her witchcraft protected. So she essentially takes like this 2x4 piece of lumber and like jams it into his genitals. Like
that sounds
destroys his groin. I mean, the way it's shot, I mean, there's blood flying everywhere. Like you see parts of his testicles coming out. That's not that is what the fuck. But what happens after that? Is he's laying there unconscious, basically. So she essentially rapes him for all intents and purposes after she destroys his genitals. She's like jerking him off. Okay. And this is all on camera, by the way. I think this is an NC-17 movie. I have to look. I think it's NC-17. But anyway, this is all on screen. Like, they don't hide any of this. She's like jerking him off after she did that. And he ends up ejaculating. Blood comes out of his penis. Okay. Are you saying what the fuck to yourself right now?
I am. And I'm like, I'm probably never going to watch this movie now. Like, I don't need to see this.
I'm like, what the fuck? All right. There's another scene later in the movie where she cuts off her own clitoris. All right, I'm not French. I don't know how to say that.
I watch some messed up stuff and terrible films, right? But
bro,
what?
I'm just telling you right now.
Why?
Antichrist is there's so much weird shit. There's a disemboweled fox in this movie that like talks to Willem Dafoe in the woods. Like there's 80% of this movie at least you're sitting there going, what the fuck? It's intense, bro.
Okay. Say for certain I have not seen this movie.
You would know, bro. You would know. The movie is a visceral, like, no holds barred watch. I mean, you have to be ready to just like grimace as you're trying to take in all these different imagery and like it's too much.
The whole thing.
Like I said, I don't think I want to rewatch it. I mean, I don't mind Lars von Trier. Like, he's a very innovative filmmaker, but this was a very like hard to watch film that you literally say, what the fuck, more times than not. I mean, it's crazy.
It sounds like it. So I will
Willem Dafoe.
Probably skip this one.
But hey, you can always count on Willem Dafoe to take one for the team, though. Am I right? I mean, he's always doing some crazy shit.
He does crazy shit.
So there you go.
Probably do a whole top 5 with Willem Dafoe.
Wow, I tell you what, man. I
mean, and we're only on our number 4, guys. We're only on our
that's not my number 1, actually. Oh my God. So yeah, Willem Dafoe's scene in Antichrist. There's my number 4, and let's get that out of our minds. What's it? Your number 3, man? Is it
my number 3 is Hereditary. Head meat pole. That's where I put this scene. I think it's one of those that you can't not have this on a top 5. It was just a shocking scene seeing it in the theater. Like, I was like, no, it's not going to happen. This isn't going to. No. Oh, shit, it did happen.
Yeah.
And like I said, not just that it was the after fact where we're going to cut back to her head laying on the ground after you see all this, and then you're like,
Yep.
So yeah,
I'm gonna make Dan take this out. Dan, if you're listening and editing, take this part out. Christianity's with us over there, Brad. He says Willem Dafoe is gold. He says, and with that, peace out. I wonder if he heard the cut this out, or
yeah, that was right
off.
after Horse Schlong.
Oh, that was right for Horse Schlong. Okay. Jesus. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah. What? Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Right.
That was my number 3.
All right. Let me turn that off. I thought I disconnected that. Okay. Let me go into D&D real quick, Brad. Hang on. Unless that's my wife. Check that. Dan, please take this out. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's your number 3. We matched up there on Hereditary. I think that's a pretty obvious pick, especially for us horror fans that we are. So yeah, I love that pick. My number 3 is also a horror movie. It's a slow burn, like international horror movie called Audition. All right. Have you seen Audition?
Yep. It's been a long time, but yes, I have seen it.
Okay, so Takeshi Miike, brilliant Japanese horror film.
He pushes the envelope with a lot of things in his movies. So
yeah. So there's a couple of scenes in this one too. I'm not going to mention the scene with the body in the bag in the apartment. You remember that scene when it starts moving? There's kind of like a panning shot going towards this like kind of sack that's in the apartment, her apartment.
Okay, yeah.
And the phone's like ringing and she's sitting there just like staring blankly. And there's this bag on the floor and it's getting closer and closer. And as it gets closer, the bag starts moving. So there's something alive in it.
Yeah.
So that's a good one too. That one made me go, what the fuck too? That was more of like almost like a jump scare almost. But for me, my WTF moment is at the end of the film when she has the piano wire and she's basically cutting his limbs off.
Yeah.
Basically for not being with her. She's crazy, obviously, and wants him to be with her. So she has him kind of like tied up on all 4 of his limbs tied up. And she's slowly just taking them off, like by slicing them with like a piano wire, which throwback to Hereditary mentioned there that we had earlier. But yeah, I was just like, it was like cringy. It wasn't in my cringe-worthy episode that I did, but it's a very cringy moment too, where you kind of have your eyes covered a little bit.
And it's a slow scene where it's very gory and just like you're just watching it slowly happen.
Yeah. So
you're like, Urgh.
Audition is intense, brother. I love that movie. It is a slow burn movie. It takes like an hour before it really gets into the quote unquote horror stuff. It's a lot of kind of like build up but it's filmed in a way that it's going to sound crazy, but it's almost like kind of like a romantic comedy. Like it kind of settles you in. And then when you get to kind of like the scary stuff, that's why you're like, what the fuck? Because you didn't expect it from such like a, kind of fragile character that she is. And, he seems like such a good dude. And like,
I think he does that a lot with his films. Like he just like, you're like, okay, like, have you ever seen Ichi the Killer? It's another one of his movies where it's just like, he gets you into his film and maybe there might be a few things here and there, but then all of a sudden he's like, all right, I'm gonna take the gloves off and like punch you in the face.
Yeah, I agree.
He just takes you the rest of the way.
Yeah, great filmmaker. So that's my number 3 there. We're up to our runner-ups, Bradley. As always, you come on the show. I love having you. You're quippy, man. You're like, here's my number 2. Next.
I'm like, boom, boom, boom. Let's go.
Bam. Yeah. All right, but go ahead. What do you got? Your runner-up, man.
I'm like, I got to get in, get out, Gerald. That's how we do it. Keep on a schedule.
I hear it. I'm surprised this didn't get released as a TikTok.
A Cineminute Plus.
Let's keep it to a minute.
My number 2, it came out during a time of the French extreme horror movies of like Martyrs, Frontiers, High Tension. This is Inside. I don't know if you've ever seen Inside. It's a French film.
I love that movie. That's the pregnant lady, right?
Yes, home invasion film with a pregnant woman, and
that's a good one.
It all leads up to, I mean, it's got like some gunshot scenes and like just blood flowing. But the very end of the film, this woman cuts the baby out of the pregnant woman's stomach. And I mean, it's really intense what happens. and then she's just sitting there like holding that baby, and you're just
Mhm.
like, first time I watched this movie, I was like, what? Oh,
Yeah.
fuck is this? Like,
Yeah, really graphic.
whoa, extremely graphic and
Mhm.
shocking for sure.
This movie was shocking. That scene was shocking, but this movie was shocking too because I remember I turned it on a few years ago. I just saw it a few years
Mhm.
ago for the first time. I think it was like in October when I do a lot of horror watches, and I was like, I've never seen this.
Yeah.
It was shocking too because like I really, really liked it, and I didn't
It's
know why I hadn't heard a lot about it.
it's a good movie. Like, it's a
Yeah,
really good home invasion movie, an
yeah, I agree.
intense home invasion movie.
Yeah, and she's seemingly so helpless because she's 9 months pregnant. It's Christmas Eve in the movie,
I mean,
so
she
you
does
can't.
it. She does very well. Fight back. I mean, she gets the crap beat out of her leading up to this. Like,
Yeah, I love the
this
bathroom scene when she's locked in the
scene.
bathroom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lot of blood used for this film. Let's just say that,
yeah, without a doubt. I think
because
it's
I
a
remember it
lot.
like she's on the stairs, and it's like, I think is it scissors she uses. I think,
Yeah,
like, basically
mhm.
kind of cutting the baby out. And I'm just
Literally,
like,
yeah. Mhm.
it's like, oh man.
Yeah, it's
And
intense.
and a lot of these French horror, like, have you seen High Tension, Frontiers, Martyrs? Like, they're all kind of that
Martyrs I
like
have.
hardcore
Mhm.
horror, like real bloody, real intense.
Yeah.
And they all came out, I mean, within a few years of each other.
Yeah, similarly to, like, Italian horror, it's like, they won't hold back when it comes to the blood
Oh
and
yeah,
gore, so
no, not at all.
but it's a great pick. Any horror fans listening, I think you should see Inside. It's a French horror from, I think, like, 2007 or something like that.
Um,
Or is it not
somewhere in
that
there.
old?
There was a U.S. remake a few years
Yeah, there
later.
was. Yeah, I never saw that, though.
Not nearly as good.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen the remake. Well, there you go. So, Inside is your number 2. My number 2 is one that I didn't think of. I actually found it in a post on Reddit, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? When I saw this, I was visibly shocked, and I was audibly saying, 'What the fuck?' to my friend that I was with in the movie theater. I can remember the moment when I would turn to him and go, 'What the fuck?' And he's going, 'Yeah, what the fuck?' It's my first year of college. I saw this in the theater. So it was right at the kind of infancy stages of me becoming just a huge cinephile too.
So like
But
1976,
yeah,
somewhere
exactly.
around
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yeah. So it's Nosferatu from 1920, whatever. No, it's 1994's Pulp Fiction, Quentin Tarantino film.
Okay. I think I know the scene you're gonna go with.
When Butch is in the pawn shop, he gets free, and he is there with Marcellus, and he's on the run from Marcellus, so he's like about to dip out. He escapes, but he hears some rustling going on downstairs, and Butch decides to check it out. So he grabs like a samurai sword. He goes downstairs, and when he opens the door in the basement, we essentially see Zed, who's like the quote unquote policeman cop.
Yep.
Giving it to Marcellus with the gimp watching on. All right, in full leather, and I'm just like, what? Like, and I mean, I was like 18 at the time too, so I'm like, not really putting my eyes on a lot of like gay sex back then. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, this is, I mean, for 1994, bro. I mean, this was like crazy to be on screen.
94 and a movie, a big release in a theater movie.
Yeah,
it's like I wasn't expecting this.
I mean, I thought he was like getting beat up or like tortured or like, any number of things were kind of going through my head. And, Bruce Willis is going to try to make good by saving him, which of course, I mean, he does. But I didn't expect to see what we saw when Bruce Willis opened that door. And I haven't heard Tarantino. I'm sure he probably has at some point. I haven't heard him discuss this scene specifically, but I wonder almost if that was written in there kind of for that shock value.
Yeah.
I know it was to make Marcellus a little more vulnerable too. I mean, a lot more vulnerable
and get saved, and then that way you can have the line, "Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead."
Yeah, man. And he even add. Remember the sound effect when Marcellus stands up and is like, butt closes together, has that little sound effect like
no,
like Tupperware closing or whatever. I'm like, bruh, Tarantino went in on this scene. So I don't know about you, man, but I was just like so shocked. Tarantino went on to be one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. And there's a couple other WTF moments in Pulp Fiction, but that's the one that I just didn't expect.
Okay.
Like I just didn't think that I would see anything like that, despite how crazy the movie was with the injection of adrenaline and like all that shit. And,
Oh yeah,
everything is going
like,
on. I just didn't expect to see anal rape.
there was
I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean?
a lot going on in that movie, and when I saw it in '94, it was one of those like, oh my gosh, I love just film in general. Like this was something different that I'd never seen at that point. '94, I'm in college, and I'm just like, what is this? This is amazing. I mean, I have
Yeah.
back here behind me, there's a Pulp Fiction poster hanging on my wall, and like,
Nice.
It's a great film.
Yeah, one of my favorites, man. So definitely a WTF moment for me as a movie fan was Marcellus and Butch with the Gimp and Zed down in the basement.
Zed's
So there you go. Anybody that's seen it knows what I'm talking about. Anybody that hasn't, I apologize. you're in for something. So
well, I don't think you need to apologize after what you had at number 4. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you set them up, but by the time we got here, they're like, oh, that's nothing, man.
Yeah, it's not as bad as my number 4, that's for sure. All right, man. So there we go. Look at this. We're up to our number 1 WTF movie moments. Bradley, what do you got?
Well, my number 1 is the most recent one on my list, most recent film. You're not going to be shocked by this. Anybody that knows me is not going to be shocked by this pick. And that is Malignant. When we get the reveal and we go into the scene in the police station, because up until this point of the film, it's very like creepy kind of an atmosphere, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of digging this. What's going on? What's this connection? Trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden it turns into this crazy bloodbath action scene, and you're just like, what is happening right now? My whole thing went from like, it's maybe a decent 3-star movie, like this is okay, and then that happened, my eyes just perk up like, this movie fucking rules.
Yeah, I agree. What was funny about this movie too is I remember being somewhat disappointed in myself after the fact, because it kind of tells you a little bit in the marketing. Like the poster has the image of the 2 heads essentially, and like there's some of her dream sequences. Like it kind of, I mean, when you look back at it, you can go, oh, okay, that's why she kind of like bleeds in double or whatever.
Yes.
But when it happened, you start processing that and you do go, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, because this whole scene's happening, and then you're trying to like figure out what's going on and go, oh wait, yeah, okay, this makes sense of the head in the head, and like, but what the hell's going on right now?
Exactly. Let me process this for a second, James Wan.
And it was one of those, I was very disappointed that I didn't experience this one in the theater. It was
I didn't either. I saw it on like HBO Max.
Yeah, HBO Max. It was a day and date. So I'm watching it on my TV, but still, like seeing that whole thing play out in the theater would have been really cool to just be like, what?
Yeah. Great effects. I remember, great choreography with the fight scene.
Yeah. I mean, just all moving backwards and just the way they had to do it all.
Yeah, I've seen some behind the scenes stuff with that and the stunt people involved and stuff, and it's just it's amazing. That's a good one. That's a good one.
So I'm sure nobody's going to be shocked that I put Malignant at number 1.
Not at all. But I try to stay away somewhat from plot twists, so I didn't really creep into my, because I feel like that's a pretty big plot twist.
It was a big plot twist, a plot twist / shocking scene, because the way the first 3/4 of the movie played out, you didn't expect this to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go.
Wait
Malignant.
Now it's an action movie.
Malignant, the reveal there. What's his name? Grindel? What's his name in the movie? It's Gabriel.
Yeah, there you go, Gabriel.
The Gabriel.
I got to meet the guy who voiced Gabriel last year at the Comic Expo.
Oh, wow.
Without even knowing it. He's a voice actor guy, and he was just like, I'm just talking to him. He's, I did the voice of Gabriel Malignant. And I was like, wait, what? Excuse me?
Can you turn around and shake my hand backwards?
And he's a voiceover guy, so he's really good. He just all of a sudden, within a second split into that voice. I was like, oh my God, it's you.
Oh, that's awesome. That would have been such a cool experience. All right, so there you go. It's your number 1. My number one is not horror. I'm gonna go off the beaten path a little bit, because with the exception of Pulp Fiction, I've had a lot of horror over here. But it is from The Departed, Martin Scorsese film from 2006.
Yep, I know.
What I'll just call the elevator scene. at the end, towards the end of the movie, when Leo gets shot. Well, a lot of people get shot, but it starts with Leo getting shot at point blank range, which at the time I just didn't expect. Scorsese sets it up like we're already at the end of the movie. We've already had our climax with what happens in the apartment. We find out about, basically Matt Damon being a rat, and like, so we know, like, we're like, okay, well that was a great ending. Like, I kind of get it. Leo's going to save the day.
That's exactly what I thought too. And then
he's got Matt Damon in custody. We're going to fucking ride off into the sunset with some Irish lullaby or something. Like, it'll be great. And then the elevator opens, and literally within not even 1 second, his brains are all over the wall.
Yes.
And then it kind of continues from there because a couple other people get their heads blown off, which you didn't really expect either. So it's just Matt Damon just standing there like with all these dead bodies around him. And, ends up kind of getting away with it, for lack of a better way to put it. So I don't know. It was crazy.
When I saw that in the theater, I was that same way. You're that same feeling like, okay, we're coming to the end. Like, okay, they got their guy. And then you're just like, whoa, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, cool.
So it really set me back, man. I didn't expect it. It was a bit of a plot twist too. So I guess that's not fair for my criteria, but I couldn't think of a movie where I was more like, what the fuck in my mind when I saw it, because it was just like immediate too. Like the elevator door opens and it's like, he's just gone. And what was crazy about that too is because Leo was like so pivotal to the story. He was like the person that you were with the whole time. He was like kind of the conduit for the audience to the story. So like, I was really connected to him. I really wanted him to succeed and kind of get through it,
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were rooting for him.
And you felt like he was. And then like literally within a second, it was like, oh, okay, well, that's not going to happen. So it was just like, really crazy in that respect too.
The movie, now what do I do? Who do I root for? What's going on? I don't know.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. So the elevator scene from The Departed is my number one. So there you go, Bradley. Those are our top 5 WTF moments. Yours were a lot less sexual. I'm noticing.
I think we might need to have an intervention with you there, Gerald.
I don't know what to say there. I'm sorry. I guess the sex is just weird to me. It just makes me go, what the fuck? I don't know. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's take a quick break, Brad. We'll run a little promo. We come back. We'll give some honorable mentions. And then shout out to fans online. I'm pretty sure I put this up in the old suggestion box a couple weeks ago when we were originally supposed to roll. So I'll check that out too. We'll be back in just a minute and we'll go through that. Everybody sit tight. All right, man. Let me go over to Facebook, Brad, just so I can have that ready to go real quick. I literally hate Facebook. I don't even like going on Facebook. Here we go. Oscar snubs. WTF moments. Bam.
2 trailers just dropped while we were recording.
Oh, good.
The John Wick trailer and then Tetris. It's coming to Apple TV Plus.
Might do a reaction for that one. I don't really. John Wick pissed me off when I saw it was going to be 3 hours. No action movie should be 3 hours.
You're like, I'm done.
So I feel like I would just talk about that the whole time and not react to the trailer. Okay, let me come back in here, Brad, and we'll wrap up, man. Welcome back, guys. As I said pre-break, my old friend Brad from the Cinema Guys is here. We just discussed our top 5 WTF movie moments. Bradley, remind them over there, what was your 5 to 1 again?
Well, my number 5 was Annihilation, the bear person, and said scream with that. Number 4, Sorry to Bother You, the horse schlong, as I put down. Number 3, Hereditary, Heads Meets Pole. Number 2, Inside, Cutting the Baby Out. And number 1, Malignant, the reveal leading into the police station action slaughter.
I love it. My number 5 was also Hereditary, where Charlie meets the telephone pole. My number 4 was basically the entire runtime of Antichrist, but I went ahead and drilled it down to Willem Dafoe's ejaculating scene. My number 3 was the piano strings amputation from Audition towards the end of the movie. My number 2 was Zed and the Gimp having their way with Marcellus in Pulp Fiction in the basement of the pawn shop. And then my number 1 would have been Leo's fate in the elevator scene in The Departed. So there you go. Some good, only the one Hereditary crossover, some good WTF moments. If you guys can stomach it, look them up on YouTube or watch these films. And even though you've heard us talk about it, you're probably still going to say WTF to yourself.
You might. Yeah, definitely.
So I've got, as usual, I've got 5 honorable mentions here, Brad, to round out my top 10. Why don't you give us yours first? Do you have any honorables that didn't quite crack the top 5?
I do. One was another bullet to the head scene, and that is Burn After Reading, when Brad Pitt coming out of the closet, like Brad Pitt's character's all happy. Boom. Same thing. Just like quick, boom, boom. You're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Next, I have Color Out of Space, when the mom and the kid merge, and they're like this weird
gooey
creature just
blob.
Moaning thing, and they're like
Mm-hmm.
Terrifier, the splitting it down the middle. First time I saw that movie, it was shocked.
Think about that one. Yeah,
I almost went Terrifier 2, but I'm like, it didn't shock me because I'd already seen I know what art can do.
Yeah, I think the shocking part of the Terrifier 2 scene was just like how long it went on. I'm like, he is not giving this girl any rest.
No. And
but no, that's a good one.
Last one is a plot twist, and that's the ending of Saw. I did not expect him to get up off the floor, and that was a definite like, what the fuck? No way.
One of the greatest
been here the whole time.
One of the greatest endings in horror movies for sure. That'll be on my plot twist episode. Just spoiler alert for anybody that listens to this episode. Maybe it'll be far enough removed for him, but I can already tell you I'd be shocked if that one wasn't in my plot twist top 5. All right, so for me, my number 6 would be kind of like the all-time like classic plot twist where it really like started to kind of become a thing in cinema after that. It's social media, of course, it makes it so hard because you get spoiled for everything. But that was not the case in 1980 when Darth Vader told Luke that he was his father. So first time I saw that, I didn't know that. I was lucky enough to not know that plot twist prior to seeing it.
As a young pup, you were just like, what
the fuck? Yeah, I probably didn't say what the fuck at 6 years old, but yeah. But anyway, I was shocked that the villain, Vader, the super villain, was our hero's father. And it was, it's just one of those moments. I've mentioned this movie a million times. This probably should have been my number 1, but I mentioned it so many times on the show, I decided to put it in my honorable mentions, but it's the chest burster from Alien.
Okay.
Ridley Scott, when
first time I ever saw that movie, it was a shocker. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, it's and what they did with the effects in 79 were great. So and my number 8 is another cringy sexual thing. So I'm sorry. Just realizing this again, another one. But there's a scene in David Fincher's 7, where we find out that the guy had to wear like a blade strap on to have sex with a prostitute as a way to punish her for lust. I think it was in the sin.
Yeah.
I'm like pausing it at going, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, that's a fucking strap on. He's supposed to do her with that. So yeah, it was definitely
Saw
WTF.
before Saw was a thing.
Yeah. My number 9, we already talked about, was the doppelganger scene from Annihilation. And my number 10 was my favorite film from 2019, actually one of my favorite films of last decade, and that's Parasite, when I'll just call it the basement reveal in Parasite.
Yes. I actually forgot all about that one.
Yeah, see kind of what's going on down there, and kind of brings along a whole new storyline with it. The movie kind of changes gears after that. So there you go. Those are our top 10s, guys. What the fuck movie moments? What were yours? Please let me know if you're listening to this episode, or comment over on YouTube. What we're going to do now, Brad, is we're going to head over to social media and see what the fans had to say in the old suggestion box. We open that up every week to see what we got in there. So I said, first up, what are some of your craziest WTF movie moments? Let's see what we got over there. Joey Mills, a frequent guest and collaborator of mine, he says recently he would have to say the Gabriel reveal in Malignant. So there you go.
There we go.
That's a good one. Joey Austin says the Sicilian scene in True Romance between Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken. That's an all-time scene, man. That's a good one. That is a really that scene is so well acted. Like, it's just a freaking clinic between those two. I don't know that I was saying what the fuck during it, but I admire it every time. It's so good. William H. Macy catching his wife cheating on him in Boogie Nights. Yeah. Where he kind of blows his head off after he kills everybody. That was definitely what the fuck. And that's another moment too where the movie just shift gears. Like it's like that point in the movie where you're like, okay, we're not having fun anymore. So good shout outs there.
We're not having fun anymore. Like some of Gerald's movies. I don't know
Exactly.
if we were ever having fun.
We never had. Believe me, there was no fun to be had in Antichrist. I'll tell you that much. Maybe the credits before the movie started. Let's see. Josh Ragland says the Sixth Sense moment was big. WTF for him. That's also probably going to make my plot twist, so I didn't consider it for this list. But yeah, that's. What do you think, man? When did you didn't see that coming, did you?
No, I didn't see that coming at all. And what's funny is ever since then, M. Night's been really trying to like recapture that.
Yeah,
the closest he came to it is Split, because I didn't expect the end of how Split fit into the Unbreakable universe.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That was a good twist too. Jared Taylor, patron and friend of the show, says Clerks when we find out who had sex with Caitlin in the Quit Stop bathroom. She had sex with a fucking dead guy? At least somebody else is doing some weird sex stuff. So thank you, Jared. I appreciate that. Christianity, he actually told us to remind everybody that the show was spoiler heavy. So I'm glad you did that at the top, Brad, because I would have forgotten. And he actually named my number one. So he says the elevator scene in The Departed, Gunny Hartman getting blown away in Basic Training and Full Metal Jacket, and the telephone pole in Hereditary. So some good lists there. Brett from Dissect That Film says the beginning of Halloween Ends. It was the only good part of the movie. What do you think about that? I mean, it actually was.
It was a surprise, and the movie's good.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. My biggest what the fuck moment from that movie is that you like it.
Yeah, go back and listen to that episode, people. You could see.
We did actually. Yeah. Did you hear me? My biggest WTF moment from that movie is that you liked it. I mean, He also says, Brett also says, shocked.
You see the stuff I watch.
That's true. Brett also says the twist at the end of The Sixth Sense, and we mentioned it earlier, but that bedroom scene in Terrifier 2. I agree. You definitely sitting there going, what the fuck,
And like I said, it shocked me more, like you said, how long it was rather than what happens.
Exactly, yeah. It just said it kept going and got worse and worse.
It was like, oh my God, is this ever going to end?
Yeah. Somebody named Brad Hargis says his WTF moment is that people actually like the menu. I don't agree with that, Brad. Who's this Brad guy?
That's truth right there, people. Truth.
Who's this Brad
mediocre?
Guy?
Isn't that what I call it?
A
mediocre menu.
Oh God! One of the greatest Letterboxd reviews I've ever read, though, is after I saw the menu and I came out and I was looking at Letterboxd reviews, and somebody said, "You know what? This would have never happened at an Olive Garden."
It's true.
It's one of the best.
And
reviews.
You would have got unlimited breadsticks and salad.
Oh man. Adam Malore says Bones and All is pretty fucked up. That was my favorite movie of 2022. Is my number one.
I
agree.
It yet. I haven't seen
my wife commented. She doesn't always do that, but she says every moment from Midsummer. I had another Ari Aster.
That's some.
That's a fucked up movie.
Yeah. I almost like the intro to that almost made it in because I didn't expect the movie to start out the way it started.
And I reminded her of that because she was thinking about the scene with the old people diving off the cliff.
Yeah.
And then the bear stuff at the end and the
bear
fire.
Or the drink.
The weird sex stuff with him.
Oh yeah.
With old people. But
there's a lot. There is a lot.
But I had to remind her about the opening and she's like, oh yeah, well then I'm just gonna say every moment. So there you go. So Pete also mimics our Hereditary pick. Michael Hill says Van Wilder's pastry scene. That was in my cringeworthy. That was in my cringeworthy.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Bruh, I don't need to mess with that at all. Let's see. Top tier patron of the show, Dan Roski says, while visually appealing and intriguing, the whole Selma dancing, then vampires fighting shit is still my favorite WTF moment. I think he's talking about shit. What God damn it. What's the with Antonio Banderas and Desperado.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Okay. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn. There you go. Yeah. The Desperado
2 movies in
sequel.
one.
There you go. Dan Brennick. No, I'm sorry. This is Dan Brennick on behalf of Nerdrovert, our buddy Jason. His favorites are the Midsummer opening. There you go. Hey, we're just talking about that. The audition torture scene, which was on my list, and Old Boy, the ending sequence. He doesn't want to remember the remake of Old Boy, which I agree. And look at this. Amanda says the horse people, and sorry to bother you.
Yeah, there we go.
How about that? How about that? All right, one more. We'll end on our patron.
Horse fans.
Yeah, fans of horse slog. What is going on over there? David Powell, patron and friend of the show, so we have to end on him. He says the finale of Marchers, the OG, not the bullshit U.S. remake. And then he also says, and then he also says Kaiser Sose's reveal in The Usual Suspects. Yeah,
I mean that was a plot twist. What the fuck reveal that you didn't see coming. When it happened, you're just like, oh wow.
This one cracks me up, so I'll read it. Joey DiCarlo, a friend of ours from So Wizard, says the most recent rewatch of The Room, I realized during the sex scenes that Tommy Wiseau moans and then goes, ha after each moan. Oh, God. I had to end on something weird and sexual. You know that, Brad. All right, there we go. So we fumbled through that somehow, but we made it. So there we go. Our top 5 WTF movie moments. And thank you guys so much for all the feedback this week. Bradley, a big fan of yours, man. And like I said at the top, I love you. I love everything you do online. People should check you out if you watch Tubi, if you love movies, if you love people with beards that wear hats in their garage. I don't know. Where are you? You're in the basement? Where are you at?
I'm in the basement. You're in the garage. So
be careful. Be careful. I had a couple really bad basement scenes in my list here. You never know what's around those shadows. All right, man. What do you got? What do you got? Tell them where to find you, brother.
I mean, you can find the Cinema Guys. I mean, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Myself, Justin, and the Cinemaiden, just 3 friends that love talking movies. And aside from that, I take the Cinema Guys and go much further with Tubi Tuesday with Brad. I watch Tubi movies and talk about them over on TikTok and YouTube. You can go watch all that stuff over there. And yeah, I just have fun watching movies and making stuff just like you. Like, have a blast doing it.
I love it, man. A fellow creator. There you go. So this episode is dropping, Bradley, I think the week after the Golden Peas, I think. But if not, because my release schedule sometimes gets switched around, make sure you check the show notes so that you can tune into the Golden Peas. It's going to be on March 13th. Like I said, this might be out yeah, you will be. You'll be one of the presenters. I'm excited about that. So this might be the week after that, but if it's not, check your show notes and tune into the Golden Peas. And also look up all of Bradley's stuff down below as well. And you can follow him over on social media and give him a couple thumbs up over there. So, Brad, I appreciate you coming back on the show, man. It means a lot.
I know. It's always a blast. I love recording with you.
Same here,
do it. We should do it again sometime. Maybe talk about some Apple stuff.
I was going to say, we should start an Apple TV podcast.
We should. We'll see how it goes.
Those of you that don't know, we did do that about a year ago. We have like 3 episodes. So
4.
That tells you how that's been going.
We got 4 in 1 year.
Yeah. Come on, guys. We're creating content over here. All right. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And I will be back next week. Until then, everybody take care. All right, man. I'm going to end broadcast, but I think you'll stay in here.